There, I spared people the gear talk.
Okay.
Now we're on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. I'm basically feeling fine now. Like I might just occasionally do a little cough, right? And call it a day.
Yeah. You don't sound like some of the people sounded that I know that got COVID.
No, basically I had like a bad day, and since then it's just like, who stay in the house? Okay.
Yeah, that was the way my kid was when they got it. It was like, yeah, one day it was just total crap, and then the rest were progressively better.
I mean, it's something like progressive. Like I was basically fine. I podcasted Sunday morning because
Oh,
I
okay.
had one scheduled, and I was like, oh, gee, I got it today. I don't know. I mean, I think I could do it tomorrow. And I woke up and yeah, sure, why not? So I just basically had a headache for about 6 hours that really sucked it, and had that thing for like only about 6-7 hours where you're like too tired to do anything, but not tired enough to go to sleep. Right. I
Mm.
had that for about 6-7 hours. So yeah, basically under normal circumstances, I would probably be at work today, but oh well. But it's summer school now, so I'm kind of like it's kind of like I'm getting away with something.
That's cool. I mean, you have paid leave, right? I mean, when you're sick, they shouldn't.
Yeah. I got paid leave, so that's not
Yeah,
an issue.
it's, it's like
It's like the health department is specifically telling me I have to stay here, right? So what can
yeah,
I
that's
say?
sort of the way it was here. Just like, we wouldn't penalize you for being ill because we need you to stay away.
And one of the other foreign teachers apparently probably got it too, so that's probably gonna make their summer school fun. Sorry, folks.
Ugh, it's the way it works.
Well, they just got a new guy, so I guess instead of him observing, they're just going to throw him straight into classes because basically it's
Hey,
like
he'll be like, that's the best thing that ever happened to me, or it's the worst thing that ever
maybe
happened.
yeah, right. Well, I mean it's summer school, so it's basically like, here, play with all these toys, for an hour and a half,
Sure,
have a
yeah.
snack in the middle.
Lighter lifting.
Right. Okay, maybe let me bring up my notes for this, and we'll roll into the beholding of the eye.
I didn't
Minimize.
rewatch this one. I I probably never need to. I mean, it's one of the most played on TV, so very familiar with
Yeah.
it.
I'm sure if you're marathoning, this one came through several times. So,
Yes, it did.
and I mean,
Well,
you've probably seen it like within the past year anyway. So,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'd seen it before. It had been a little while. I definitely needed to rewatch it. This one only got like a one view from me though, as opposed to the 3, 4, or 5 that some of these get. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to it.
okay, I guess I'll start.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It is the podcast where we talk about the Twilight Zone and beyond. This is Matt here with me. Today is Andrew. Hi.
Hi, 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 hi.
It works. It's like when I used to do music and I had that song where we would like try and do the
Live
live
fade
fade
out.
out.
Oh God. There's never in any other band that did that. That was so fun.
You'd think someone else would do that. I mean, it makes sense.
Nope. I never never with any other band that would do.
I mean, if that's what it sounds like in the studio, why not? How else does the song end?
Yeah, otherwise you got to figure out an ending and you all got to be there.
You just end with one sour note at the end, and the Gonzo style saxophone note. Yeah, that's what we need. Anyway, the episode today, it is Eye of the Beholder, or the Private World of Darkness, or Eye of the Beholder.
Or the Dark World of Privates.
There we go. The Dark World of Privates, Private Eyes, Private Dicks. The Dark World of Private Dicks. There we go.
The Dark World of Dicks. Yes.
Okay, I don't have to censor that because we're talking about detectives, so it's cool.
Absolutely, yes.
A little trivia on this one. I put original air date was November 11th, 1960. Then I mentioned that they had retitled it in 1962 due to a potential lawsuit. Someone was just like, that's a copyrighted phrase, and they're like, is it? So they changed it for syndication, then changed it back. But on the DVDs, it's kind of ridiculous because there's like alternate version of the episode, but the only difference is the title card's different.
Ah, what a waste of bits on a disc.
Teleplay is by Serling, while the direction is by Douglas Hayes. We've seen both of these cats around before, and we will again. Maxine Stewart voices Janet while she is still under the bandages. Stewart started off on Broadway before embarking on a 50-year career in television. Her credits range all the way from the Donna Reed Show and the Asphalt Jungle in the 1950s to NYPD Blue and Chicago Hope around the turn of the century. She gained an Emmy nomination for her role on The Wonder Years. Donna Douglas played Janet once out of the bandages. She was so disgustingly ugly physically that her main claim to fame was as Ellie Mae Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies. While she occasionally acted after that show's cancellation, she shifted her focus into becoming a real estate agent, a gospel singer, and a children's book author. I think that's how I was supposed to say it. Dr. Bernardi was played by William D. Gordon. He was a writer, director, actor, and producer. And if you'd like to know more, we just encountered him as George in Nervous Man in a $4 Room, where I went into slightly more detail. Wiki didn't go into that much detail on those, so don't hold your breath for exciting tidbits.
Oh, for this episode?
No, for William Gordon. I mean,
Okay.
he's interesting enough, but he just, he produced some shows. He's a Hollywood man.
Sure.
In Hollywood, man about the town. See, that's the sort of throat clearing I meant to do off the mic. Oops.
That's fine.
Yeah. Here you go. I have given you a prologue. You can read the said prologue.
All right. Rod Serling, by this point, his teeth are quite dry from all the smoking, and he's not a big drinker, but he recorded all these at once, so he's just getting a little funny with them. So just know that. All right. Suspended in time and space for a moment. Your introduction to Miss Janet Tyler, who lives in a very private world of darkness, a universe whose dimensions are the size, thickness, length of the swath of bandages that cover her face. In a moment, we'll go back into this room, and also in a moment, we will look under those bandages, keeping in mind, of course, that we're not to be surprised by what we see, because this isn't just a hospital, and this patient 307 is not just a woman. This happens to be the Twilight Zone, and Miss Janet Tyler, with you, is about to go inside a living butthole.
I think you might have paraphrased slightly there, but that's cool.
Went off script a little bit, but that's when I went to the Twilight Zone in that moment.
That's right. You spent a moment there. This is a pretty weird episode. I guess it's a pretty iconic one. It's the one. Yeah, we got the first. I guess they're not quite pig faces. We get more literal pig faces later, do we? But they're pretty close.
Well, and even these were sort of taken from the special effects guy had done the Morlocks in the Time Machine movie, and so
it's about the same time, isn't it? Okay, so they just
I think I don't think they like reused him. I do think they sculpted new stuff, but it was important to keep them all very similar looking, because the whole story is about conformity.
What the thing that does kind of work with this episode, I don't know, I'm such a dystopian fan. I almost wish they just like throw it at the beginning, but the fact that he tells you it's not a normal hospital, but the first 10 minutes is kind of hard to like get your head around that, right? Like seems like a normal hospital till they start saying weird things like the 11th attempt and that's all we can do and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing, is that this whole episode hinges on as much trickery as they can possibly do, so that your mind doesn't start going to where its most logical conclusion is, the twist. And given that it's season 2 of Twilight Zone, people are coming in now expecting something like that. So it's in a way even harder.
I do feel that the actual chief draw of this episode for me is the weird dystopia, which doesn't come into full flower till you start seeing the the dictator on the televisions.
Yeah, you start to realize that it sucks to be in whatever society this is, and the people who are like actually going to have a good life and get away to somewhere uh decent are the supposed freaks that must be, sent to live somewhere else.
Well, if you look like a pig person outside the hospital, what kind of life are you living? I mean, you got a dictator, but well, a lot of people seem to now anyway, right?
I was going to say, like any great Twilight Zone episode, it ages disturbingly well.
I mean, not to just slag on to China directly, but that's almost the vibe going on in China right now.
Very much so, and to the point where, um, just I think the general idea of it being, uh, like in fashion to be ugly, as in an ugly human being, not as in physically, is just, yeah, that's very much the moment.
Now, how are you reading this? We're in a place where everyone has been disfigured, or we're in a place like a completely alternate reality where people are supposed to look like the doctors and the dictator.
Well, I mean, this whole thing, and this isn't the first time this has happened in Twilight Zone. The whole thing is this visual metaphor, you know. So it's a way to kind of get people to look at their own culture and see it for what it really is. And so, I never honestly really thought that much about where it might take place. If anything, it must be, a bizarro Earth.
Bizarro.
I hate them all except Turtle Face.
But yeah, that was kind of my take. Like that is actually the baseline, because the other one is like the dictator is put forth. I don't know. What if the dictator is like divine? Like from the John Waters movie. Sorry, I know I don't need to say that to you, but for the audience, but
No, I hear you.
like
No, I
divine from the
understand
John
because
is like everything needs to be filthy, and now divines become like the dictator, and everyone needs to become filthy, and we have some
sure.
injections to do it, and it just doesn't take on some people like this lady.
Yeah, Queen Carlotta from Desperate Living, to where, everybody has to become this kind of monstrous thing because that's the law of the land.
So I mean,
Um,
there's two flavors of dystopia, I guess, here that you could smell. Where one is just the weird alternate reality one, the other is something like that. I mean, both are interesting, and I guess it doesn't really matter which one it is for the contours of this episode. But
just given like we were saying about the current cultural climate, with fascism and just ugliness in general, like I mentioned, I like the idea that, the only people that have retained their humanity are the ones that actually resemble the way humans were, and people have, so maybe it's in the future where people's ugliness has become so bad that it's moved to the outside, and their desire for conformity has also moved itself to the outside, and so they all look alike and they're all just horrifying
maybe
and
this
mean.
is maybe this is a future where everyone enjoyed the full benefits of nuclear power.
Now, I will say though, for all the ugliness that they've got in terms of the grotesque makeup, I do think that Sterling made it a point to, have their dialogue not be necessarily so, wouldn't kind of lead you toward any sort of suspicion. Despite this, of course, yeah, what we're talking about, that you hear these increasingly alarming messages throughout it. Um, I don't think he wanted to give any sort of indication, of their tone of voice or their actions being necessarily monstrous.
No, the doctor himself is relatively
Mhm.
uh what's the word I'm looking, not heartfelt, it's a nuanced portrayal of the doctor. The doctor's like, what I'm doing is kind of screwed up, but it's there's not really another choice, and I'll try and do
Yeah,
my best. So
yeah. So it doesn't give it away. So that subtlety, from a performance standpoint. Now the subtlety, what they were able to achieve with the lighting and makeup, I mean, it's still, to me, just blows me away because it all hinged on not giving it away. So automatically it became like, how do we shoot these people without shooting them? And all the little ways you see how they achieve that is just, it's it was it was done so well that nobody knew what they were doing. Nobody knew what the people that made it were doing.
It was, but it didn't date well. That's one thing I definitely felt watching it last night because I'm watching it on Blu-ray.
Oh
And
yeah,
very
sure.
soon in, I can very easily make out these people's faces in the shadows, and they're
Oh
not
yeah.
wearing makeup. And then the last scene, right before the reveal, you still see them in the shadows. Oh, they bothered to put the makeup on
Put
them
the makeup
now.
in. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like,
no, it was a low budget show.
yeah. But I do wonder if they could have blocked things a little bit better, just to, or up the contrast some. Maybe this might have been a good one for them to have actually done on videotape since they had to do some on videotape this season.
Oh God, yeah. And those,
Like
I
the
mean,
low
we'll
or
talk.
fi of that would have helped this episode.
Yeah, and when we're talking about Twilight Zone, I often bring into context the times in which they aired, and this is a perfect example of like how, they it served what they were doing very well to have the technology where it was in terms of TVs at home.
Also, I guess
Not going to look that great,
like
not very sharp.
this was somewhat of an innovative filmmaking thing when this came out, right?
Mhm.
But this kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
sleight of hand is very common now and done with way more finesse now. Like you really like you have to have an eagle eye to find the seams in these now. Whereas this one, you don't have to look that hard, especially when you're watching a Blu-ray.
Oh yeah. Well, back then, it's not only were the screens just sort of fuzzy in the average home, but also no one ever thought that there would be like someone taping it and watching it again and freeze framing and pausing and things like that.
Exactly. So and then yeah, they just the fuzziness of the TV. I'm sure it played perfectly. Like this one probably was more effective to watch in 1960. So like I'm saying, like story wise, dialogue wise, it does hold up pretty well. But this is one where the production definitely doesn't make it all the way to 2022 without growing some warts on
Yeah,
it.
no, and
So
I can even remember in the 80s when I began watching these with my dad, like after the first time I saw it, um, and you're not anticipating how awful the woman looks, and that's not the thing that's scaring you or, providing suspense. You then are looking for indicators, and those edges that you see that you were talking about of the makeup, I then noticed from that point on every time I watched it. And that was
yeah,
on various standard def and everything throughout the years.
that's my point. Even by the 80s, like you couldn't really pull this trick anymore. I
Probably
mean, or
not.
you could, you would just have to be a lot more like slick about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But
What is there anything recently that kind of has pulled this particular sleight of hand? I mean, we got the Sixth Sense kind of does it in a way, I guess, not through visual effects, but as it more through how they do the dialogue, right?
yeah, yeah, just you've got something that a rather big twist that everything sort of hinges on. And so you've got to your techniques are so important that people can't know that a technique is being used, you know.
Now, one thing I did like, that I thought was a very cool shot was the bandage vision.
Yeah, I think that was like a fishbowl.
Yeah.
That
Oh, and
they
then you wrap around the fishbowl, something like that.
yeah, they
Anyway,
wrapped the fish.
whatever it did, that was an effective shot. I thought, like
Yeah, it's great
light suddenly come
because
in.
and I think even when the people are in the shadows and stuff like that, I think that is also meant to be her point of view, the main character, to where, we don't see them well because she doesn't see them well.
Right. Now,
But
well, I've seen this one before. I actually did kind of forget about the dystopian aspect. I guess that's why I was asking, is it alternate reality or our own future? Because I just remember, oh, it's a weird alternate reality where everyone looks like, like distorted freak people. I had forgotten
I
about the dystopian aspect somewhat. So,
yeah, I'm more leaning toward the dystopia because um I mean it makes it even more prescient and gosh to even think about at the time, being contemporary, because there was sort of a conformity going on in terms of you know looking a certain way, dress for success, and
the,
don't go outside the lines kind of culture.
the point is, since I forgot about the dystopian part till the TV screens start coming down, I did. That's where I actually did get caught because you come in this one, yeah, I know the twist, right? So,
Yeah.
but then I got some notes like, is he guilt tripping her for health issues? And then
Oh my
segregated, that's a loaded word, which
God.
yes, it
Yeah.
is a loaded word. That's exactly where we're going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and yes, it could be interpreted a couple of different ways. But my my interpretation of it has pretty much stayed the same kind of basic thing, which is just about the idea that there's a standard of beauty.
Yeah. Another one, when we first go into the doctor's office, I don't know if this was just I couldn't have been a mistake. He's got a lamp in his corner, and in a later scene, this is not the case. But in the first scene, they have it shot where there's some light going through that lamp, and the shadow in the back looks exactly like a pair of eyes behind it.
Whoa, I don't think I ever picked up on that. When is this? The beginning in the office?
It's the first scene in the doctor's office, probably about 5, 6, 7 minutes, and I didn't make a time code, sorry, but yeah, I was just like, that's pretty wild.
Okay, yeah. My eye has, for some reason, over the years, never wandered there to pick up on that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure that was intentional, but I certainly like it looked like one of those, like Tibetan, like sort of, or Nepalese sort of, eye things. If you know what I'm talking about, the thick
Yeah, yeah, I
eyebrows, that sort of
do.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I think we're going with it intentional. Just because they had so little money, there's no reason why they couldn't, throw something like that
And
in
it could have
there.
even just been like someone's like, "Wow, that's a badass shadow. Let's shoot that." Like,
Right? Make
on,
people wonder about it.
exactly. Um, so what did our dictator call it? The delight of joyous conformity, something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
was. I mean, that's the one thing, even though I say it's open to a lot of different ways of interpreting it, this is so on the nose, the pig nose,
Yeah,
this episode.
that
The
was
what?
another cheat, I think, because the first time you see the dictator, it's in a wide shot, but he's clearly not like a pig man at that point.
No, and our eagle-eyed viewers of the 21st century are certainly going to see that. You got to remember also the screens we're watching it on typically are way bigger than they were originally.
Yeah, so again, blurring this up. That's where again I think, wow, that they, yeah, if, and Captain Hindsight, right? But this should have been one of the videotape ones, because then it might still look okay despite looking worse.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that the tape, and we'll do this as we go into season 2 and inevitably be on one of the taped episodes. Can talk about whether or not sometimes that medium either served or did a disservice to the actual material. But I think in this case, I think that the tape would look good, not just for the reasons of contrast, but I just think it would fit that claustrophobic clinical sort of, we never really leave that compound or where the hospital.
yeah, this did kind of, maybe because of the purposeful obfuscation of everyone, this did feel like more like an experimental film or like a European art film of the period than a Twilight
No,
Zone typically does.
I agree. Yeah, yeah, very much so. I mean, it's um I mean, it is. I mean, even though it wasn't high contrast enough, a lot of these images are really sort of deliberately shadowy. And that was because again, they had to hide a pretty big secret. But yeah, it has. I also think Five Characters in Search of an Exit does that too, to a degree. I always felt like that one was just very kind of utilitarian, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, or in your surrealistic playwriting, you're waiting for Godot. That one sort of, and then jumps into that sort of territory.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that one. Yeah, definitely.
This one's obviously more in your what dystopia is this like? I was about to say 1984, but except for the dictator, no one seems particularly aggressive. Maybe Brave New World is the better
Mm,
comparison. There's no Soma though, because nobody seems that happy.
no,
I guess
I
that
don't
makes it
know.
its own thing. Well, I'll
Yeah,
grant
I
it
was
that.
gonna say it doesn't. You couldn't. Yeah, I don't think it safely falls
Well,
in
no,
one of the.
I did think of actually one that kind of it's at least worth comparing, but it doesn't, obviously it doesn't, this was not influenced, but the film Surrogates. Did you see
Oh,
Surrogates?
Yeah,
because
I've seen some.
everyone lives vicariously with their avatars or their
Right, right.
robotic avatars. It's not like the metaverse. They are going into the real world, but in their robot bodies. And the people that are not into that have like an enclave, right?
Yes, and man, did I love Surrogates. I remember writing a review of that when it came out. I loved that one. God,
So
I
it
need
kind
to.
of made me think like Mr. Smith and her at the end, Miss Tyler or Mr. Smith are heading toward that kind of enclave, you know?
Yeah, no, they exactly are. Yeah, although now I'm going to think about that is where they're going, as
Well, I
opposed
am
to
thinking
imagine.
like where they're going, probably I don't know. It seems like it would be somewhat second rate, of course, right? I mean, they're playing
I
it here like it's fine, but it's probably not.
True, but even if it's a trailer park, it's better than I would prefer it to whatever's going on over there.
Well, that's the thing in surrogates. They prefer living in their lo-fi,
Yeah, yeah,
no, I guess they're running some generators for electricity, that sort of thing, and
yeah.
not really joining the quote unquote real world.
Right, right. But like I said, I hadn't thought about surrogates in it's since it came out really, but I remember loving it. And yeah, so that's a good place for that to land. I feel like that's because we never actually really get a look at where they go. So I'm with it.
So I've seen articles in the past 10, 15 years talking about how we subconsciously judge beauty on symmetry, like how symmetrical one's face is. So I was thinking, what is symmetry class like in this universe or in this world?
That's a good one. And I just read I forget who was talking about it, but yeah, someone was in the makeup chair on some TV show or movie, and the person that was making them up stopped to just keep saying how they had a symmetrical face, like as in the person doing the makeup had this symmetrical face. But I'm sure you've seen those things where they take the one side and just flop it, and it looks freaking hideous.
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah. I do remember the first time I saw one of those articles, they were putting Elizabeth Hurley up front as having the most symmetrical face. So
Hmm.
take what you want with that. But
I don't know
um, let's
what
talk.
happened to her.
No, yeah, we haven't seen her in a while, but I guess she was very symmetrical. So,
Yeah, too symmetrical.
um, when we first see Janet, I couldn't help but think of like the Joker, like the Burton
Mm.
Batman was and on his bandages, or the Red Hood. Since this is black and white, I can imagine it's red. I don't know. I just had weird Batman thoughts enter my mind as it started, and I guess just the archness of the show also like subconsciously pushes that button.
Oh yeah, it does. No, it's hoping, and I remember this as a kid clearly. It's hoping that you're like really put off by her in those bandages, and it's an eerie. Uh, it makes you think of Dalton Trumbo, that Johnny Got His Gun black and white movie where you've got the immobile, injured soldier,
Right, right.
which is
Um,
just in black and white as well. And it's just one of the most disturbing images I feel ever committed to film.
Near the start, we also get a flash of Templeton cigarettes. So I just wrote that those are trouble because I think the trouble with Templeton's like 3 episodes after this or something. So
Oh, you're right.
so
Oh,
I
you're
felt
right.
like we were
Yeah.
making no references.
Yeah, because this is a few episodes into season two. And I can't remember where it follows in the sequence, but I feel like there's some lighter ones before and after this.
Oh, for sure.
Um, to the point where it's almost like wild how good, because toward the end of season one, you and I both were talking about how, when it came to the Mighty Casey, it was more of just like, oh, let's get this over with. Let's meet the quota.
two
But
two I'll ask you one then because it came up 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the thing about machines. We were like, is this a comedic episode? it's
no,
kind of
this one.
it's kind of no, I mean the thing about machines. Because
Oh,
it's funny, but he does get murdered by his car at the end.
no, it's like, it's really dark. Like some, and I think Serling is probably he has episodes that I feel are like super sadistic, where You know, and he just doesn't seem to care about anybody in the episode. It's in terms of his character. He still loves them clearly, but yeah, I mean, he has no problem having shit like that happen to him.
Yeah, this one for sure is not a comedic episode, so we'll throw that
No, I
out
mean,
there.
it really has one place that it's trying to end up. And I mean, it's really effective even when you know it's coming. It really, like, I don't think this will ever be an episode that won't make people think. It's too well done and too on the nose, you know.
I think I hit most of my thoughts here. Is there any big thoughts you wanted to just throw out while we're just spitballing against the wall?
Well, I think it's worth mentioning that um the actor who played the unbandaged, because I think the idea of the casting here and getting two people, there was this idea that we're not going to get a really beautiful quote unquote actor that's going to be able to pull off the performance under the bandages, and vice versa. We're not going to get someone under the bandages that's really great looking. And so there's always been this sort of weirdness with me about this episode, in that there was still sort of a, and I know this is something they had to have thought of, but the fact that they had to base the part of the woman unmasked, they had to find somebody that they felt everyone would say, "Oh, what a beautiful person." And it's I don't call that ironic, but it's more of just like a, I guess it's a necessary evil of making this comment. They still had to do the whole thing with the casting, to where it's like, okay, well, who can we get that's, it's still, I mean, the way I feel about beauty was mostly shaped by Naomi Wolf's book, The Beauty Myth. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it was a early 2000s feminist literature, and it really just upended everything from advertising to just like industry standards and going back centuries. And it was a real good meditation on, well, I mean, it's called The Beauty Myth because somebody made the shit up. And so, yeah, I always think about that with this episode, and that, okay, yes, we are talking about conformity and we are talking about these nebulous beauty standards, but we still had to do it when we cast it.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's why maybe that's why I was like, being like snarky in my trivia, right? To take the edge off.
Sure.
I did
But
note,
no,
yeah, she has to do so much. Maxine Stewart has to do so much hand acting, since she is under all the. Well, is she just doing the voice, or is she who is under the bandages? I couldn't quite figure out if that was her or yet somebody else.
no, it was two actors, and because of the way the dialogue was dubbed, it's, it sounds like it could be someone else, but it is her. But the actor who, and I need to, what are these names? Who played her unmasked? Is that Donna Douglas?
That's Donna Douglas
Okay, so
unmasked.
Douglas was on set the entire time that Maxine Stewart was under the bandages, so that she could, I guess, I don't know if this was the exact purpose, but she was a real novice at that time. Donna Douglas was. And so it was kind of their theory of, if somebody beautiful is not going to have the acting skills. They were just going to dub that part. But she was able to mimic Maxine Stewart's voice so well that really is Douglas. It just sounds exactly like her because she heard her voice on set all day long,
Right,
and
right.
went over to
Okay.
do it. And so, yeah, I don't think I knew that until I listened to the commentary by uh, Donna Douglas.
Okay. Well, that means that Maxine Stewart was doing an awful lot of hand acting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, when you
Yeah,
have nothing else. Oh, sorry, one more thing. I just, when she's talking about the clouds at the beginning, I don't know if you're an Orb fan, but I couldn't help but thinking of Ricky Lee Jones and Little Fluffy Clouds.
nah,
Yeah.
the reference is lost on me, but probably not to uh
Someone will catch that.
your listeners with far more refined taste than I have.
Yeah, that's the Orb. So if that never crossed your sphere, then.
No, I've been listening to Beyonce and Lizzo both put out new albums recently, so that's been the rotation.
Let's get into our questions. In this episode, who takes a trip through the Twilight Zone?
Oh man, I meant to think about this earlier. I should know this right away. I mean, the Twilight Zone, we want to say, is someone transformed, right?
Well,
Is that what?
it's an open-ended question, so if you want to take it that way, you can.
Yeah. Uh, I. It's pretty clear where Janet is going, and the main character, and also where Dude is going, the other guy that looks normal. But it is not necessarily clear where like the doctor is going, because he has, I mean, he's been a complete and total failure. So it's kind of a question mark what happens to him for me. So that's my pick.
Okay. Here's my take on it. The episode takes place completely in the Twilight Zone, be it an alternate dimension or just a future where things went really weird in some way. So the whole episode's in the Twilight Zone, and usually we have like a representative, like from the Twilight Zone, you're Mr. Pip or something, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this one has no representation from the Twilight Zone. I guess you might be able to argue the dictator, but I
Mm.
don't think you have to. So I would just be like everybody.
I was gonna say, no, in my estimation, this maybe seem like a cop out, but I guess this is one of the ones where the viewer goes there.
Yeah, the viewer gets is like whoa the most, right? So
Well, I mean, following the whole thing about having the avatar in the episode, it would mean that we've gone. The viewer has gone.
okay, then let's take the second question a little differently, because we could be like, do these people deserve to live in this dystopia they've created? The people have had that conversation before. Did the viewer deserve to go through the Twilight Zone as the cold viewer, the person who is shocked by the fact that she's beautiful and everyone else is pig people? Did they
Yeah.
deserve that? Because they just got slapped in the face with beauty standards, maybe.
I mean, if you are upended by the message, and this isn't one of those what my dad used to call leave it under the seat viewing experiences, then I'd say yeah.
Okay, what if
But
the
if
viewer's not affected? There's like, whatever. There's a bunch of people. Maybe they're one of those people that can't like really tell faces so well.
oh god, well you didn't go into the Twilight Zone, then you just watched a TV show.
Then you just watched a very confusing TV show.
You're like, why is everybody a pig? Which if I didn't say so before, I love these makeups because
I think everyone loves these makeup.
I
This
think,
makeup, these makeups.
well, the thing is, like, not only does it make sense to have them, like, even though there's I don't know how many people shown, there's really only four or five faces among them, which goes to serve their thing, even though there's a case of using the low budget, great. But most importantly, from behind, there's no makeup. Like from the back, these people look completely normal.
Right.
So instead of having all the money to throw it at making these really monstrous, elaborate makeups, instead they had to do these cheap, molds, and then everybody gets one of 4 or 5 different faces. Maybe even some use the same parts over. I don't know. But I think it's I think it serves it so well that it was actually low budge, and they had to just economize with the makeups, because I mean, from the back, they probably didn't have, like you were saying, they probably didn't have any makeup on,
Oh, they
because why
did.
would they need it?
No, they didn't. I was like paying too much attention. That's where I like might have ruined the episode a little bit for me, because I'm like, that's a normal dude there.
Yeah, right.
The first time I see the nurse, I was like, hey, I thought the whole twist on this was everyone looks like pigs, but she looks perfectly normal, because I can like see into the shadows.
Oh
So
god, that
maybe they should have just upped the contrast some for release.
I don't know how. I mean, I don't own I only owned the Blu-ray of season 1 because I didn't have the money at the time to shell out for the whole thing. So I was gonna buy them a season at a time, and then I was like, "Eesh." So I watched them on DVD, but they're upscaled on a Blu-ray player, and so um, I can, yeah, it can still. I see what you see pretty much. Yeah.
But that was the thing. I guess I was watching this one more like intellectually, like because I know what the conceit is. I'm like, oh, how are they doing it? Again,
Mhm.
the only thing that threw me for a loop was all the dictator stuff because I'd forgotten about the TV screens were cool and you know,
Yeah, she throws a something at one of them, and instead of shattering, it just blips off the screen because
it's a
it's
future
just,
TV.
yeah.
Let's put it on the tripometer.
Okay, this one's easy for me, uh, because we are in the Twilight Zone. The viewer, I feel like this one's a solid 4 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
just because of how they upend reality. You
mm,
know, I mean, it may start off as a 2 or 2.5, but I feel like, yeah, it's a 4 for me by the, that once the mask is off, it's what? I mean, there's t-shirts of that. This is I think we said on Time Enough at Last that was the most like iconic episode, but I don't think that's right. Eye of the Beholder is, I feel, the most probably well known.
I guess it's got that little darker strain in it. Well, I mean, Time Enough at Last does too, but this one
It
doesn't really
does,
give you anything to giggle at.
but when the doctor turns over his shoulder and asks for the needle, that image is just, I mean, like I said, I've seen tons of t-shirts, posters, stickers, needle please. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As for me, like I guess I have to do a little math here. I guess that the twist itself is everybody kind of knows it now. Still a good one. So maybe that's like a 3, right? But then I was like kind of really taken out by watching it and really being able to see like under the hood, so to speak.
I see.
So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I got to give this negative points there. It's a -2 on the tripometer because
Oh man.
you're blasting me out. But then the dictator stuff's a straight 5. Like that's like you said, the last few minutes is like wild stuff. Like that's some trippy stuff for sure.
It
So
is.
I'm gonna settle on that 3 in the end.
Okay.
So with the dictator stuff, balancing out the fact that some of the some of the special effects could have been done a little better, or just the post production could have been done a little bit better. I guess direction wise, you do the best you can. It's like, well, their face is in shadow. We'll fix it in post, and no one fixed it in post.
Yeah, and also I don't think anybody had ever tried to do what they were doing. So
It's
you're
definitely
kind of,
innovative. Like I said, this is the most like experimental film Twilight Zone we've seen so far. I think so.
no, I agree. Yeah, there was just, it's not gonna hold up great because I don't think it was made to. It was just, they did their best to,
Okay, I'm
with
trying to think.
no guideline really to go by.
Anyway, I think we're in the middle of September. Is there something you want to tell people in the middle of September?
Um, do you remember the 21st night of September?
I'm checking the actual release date now. See, you called me. I have to check the release date. Anyway, what's up with Guns 20? I think it's gonna be the 20th. No, it's the 19th. Crap. Okay.
September. By that time, Gonzorific will be shooting nude witchcraft after all these years.
I made a soundtrack for that 10 years ago.
It was more than 10 years ago that you did that. It is one of my most watched videos on the Gonzorific YouTube channel. It has remained so. I think it's because of that great music, but we'll see.
Well, I guess
So
I'm
yeah,
gonna
if
have
you've
to
got that
throw that at the
MP3
end of
laying
this
around,
episode.
yeah, if you've got that track laying around, we're gonna need it.
I got the whole soundtrack laying around. I got like 6 tracks for you.
Of Nude Witchcraft, the movie
Yeah,
we never made.
yeah.
What?
I made a whole. I thought you were gonna make it, so I made a soundtrack.
Dang. Okay. Well, yeah, I need that.
Okay. Uh,
We are really good. It was just, I had someone else write the script because I didn't have time, and it wasn't something we could do, and so I've rewritten it, but given Adam its proper credit for, because I don't know now which parts were his and which ones are mine. Kind of like
Anyway,
in an orgy.
did you say a website? I don't remember.
Gonzorific.com.
Maybe you
Get
did.
some movies, watch
I was
some movies.
I was too busy thinking about nude witchcraft, man.
Oh, right. No, I pitched it to some folks, the folks I did Jugsaw with, and they were in based on the title. They didn't even have to know what this, which is good because there's, I'm still rewriting it.
Anyway, as for this, it's Time Enough Podcast, Time Enough Pod on Twitter and Facebook. And you can support us on Patreon at Podcastio Podcastius. We also talk about sci-fi films and Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. Game shows at the Game Show, where we game about games, or they game about games. I gamed about games with them once. Luke loves Pokemon. Monster Hunter. Are you a Pokemon that licks its microphone?
A microphone that licks its Pokemon.
Okay, I guess that works too.
Yes.
Okay, well, have a good night's sleep, and we'll see what you look like in the morning.
Riddle, please.
Hold on. Yeah, I think I got it right here. iTunes. It would be under damage tape. I'm just seeing how many tracks I actually have. In the titles, you might actually recognize the title. You might have used one for something else for all I know. So.
Oh, I'm fine if I did. I just want to use them all.
Yeah.
For their proper.
But you can call it like a vintage score now. That's kind of fun.
Well, that's fine with me. I mean,
what gives it more Bridget. Yeah, so there's the nude witchcraft track, Musings of the Horned God, Raindrops in the Waterfall, the Molten Universe, Light's Passage, and Harp of the Triple Goddess.
That's some awesome shit. That makes me think of Blood Feast, those titles.
The music doesn't. It's all that super analog electronic stuff, basically. So
yeah, what I was gonna say is Bridget Heron, who's from the band Athens band Tuna Bunny, who no longer exists. She did the score for Three Hole Punch, and she's going to do the score for Die Liner as well. And she does all analog synths. So I play the movie on the wall in Nietzsche space, and she just brings all her shit, hooks it all together, and plays it live.
I should do that. I had my coworker, we were up at the other house a few weeks ago, and I just got the Moog and the Juno going in tandem, so we were having some fun with that.
Yeah, I had to put a picture of her doing that on either Facebook or Instagram, Gonzorific, and it just shows her kind of everything that she's got. But yeah, she just hooks it all up and I've never seen anyone do it like that. It was cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to do something because I got the Volcas. Like I want to take a Volca Beats, sync it to the monologue keyboard, which I can do no problem. That's easy. But then for some reason the sound doesn't, it's just a MIDI sync, I guess. The sound doesn't actually go through. So at the moment I can only record one at a time. Like they're synced together, but I have to so I need to figure out a way to record them together. But that might be a bad idea too. Maybe it's better to record them separately. I don't know.
I mean, for what she did, I just set up a couple mics in the room near her speakers.
That's what we were doing a few weeks ago, right? So
okay,
yeah, I should give that. Oh, except that guy's joining the army, so I won't be around that much longer.
Get him to give you some loops.
Some what?
Loops.
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 What's it? Oh, loops. Right. Sorry, I was thinking about army shit. Because he did. Yeah. Because he did give me like a keychain that was a carabiner and an army pin. Because he went to take the army test.
Oh.
So I was thinking about that carabiner when you were saying, give you some loops. I'm like, oh, you kind of gave me a loop.
Yeah. No, that's
a carabiner.
Yeah, that's a classic.
But yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to get a setup where I can just kind of basically just run the drums and then run a sequencer on the monologue and then overdub like a lead part or a bass part or something like that. And then I can do stuff in my room and it's still analog. Because right now I usually do stuff on the iPad. And when I get a chance to go to the family house, I'll get the giant analogs and replace parts that I feel like would be better that way. So it's been pretty hybrid for the past few years.
Julie asked, did everybody go to have you quarantine alone. Did everybody leave you?
Except for Mimi, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's almost Oban, so they were gonna be at the family house anyway. So basically, they just left several days early. But yeah. She's still teleworking in the next room.
Okay.
But yeah, but otherwise, yeah, everyone else jumped ship.
Well, I'm glad you're not too fucked up by it.
No, I know it's not PC to say, but I have had flus that were worse.
It's very flu-like, you know.
Yeah, well, it's Omicron too, so it's like the wussy version, right?
Yeah. Julie obviously is a microbiologist. She's, has explained it to me before, but I'm like,
No, what happened was Friday night I just felt kind of like lightheaded, but it was kind of fun. Like I was like, like honestly, it felt like I don't know if you got like kind of felt slightly stoned the day after the vaccines, but that feeling, I did.
I don't know if I would have identified it that way, but I
Just a
definitely
little
remember.
kind of spacey.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt that way Friday. But and then Saturday morning I woke up. I took my temperature. Temperature was fine. I felt like slightly bad, but like, I'll get out the open air. I'll probably be fine. But by the time I got to work, I was like, ugh. And
Sure.
it was like what, like 100, almost 100 degrees. So at first I did like think it was heat stroke.
Well, if you're hallucinating, yeah, that's one of the symptoms of heat stroke.
I wasn't hallucinating, but I mean, looking back, because I guess I didn't know that headache was actually one of the major Omicron symptoms.
Yeah. Now, heat exhaustion, yeah, and that also has, because
Well,
I've had
sometimes
that.
that. Anyway, I basically walked into work and then walked right back out the door, and then tried to take a nap for a while. Had a massive headache, and late afternoon, she was like, "Oh, have a cake." So I'm sitting there eating the cake, and I'm like, "Gee, yeah, my nose is so stuffy." And then everyone's like, "Wait a minute, this is what your nephew had like last week, and he had COVID. So maybe that's actually what it is." So that's the point where everyone left the house.
Oh, had you been around her nephew then?
No, him not at all. But I'd been around the other people, not much, but just a little bit, right? But because at first, I thought it was heat stroke, and no one really questioned me on it. And
Sure, yeah.
yeah, and then they were like, "Wait a minute, that might actually be COVID." So everyone left, and then Saturday, so I couldn't get checked on Saturday, couldn't get checked on Sunday, so we finally got checked on Monday morning. And then my coworker also got it, but she lives by herself, so we had to like, I don't think the company should have been helping her, but we had to kind of help her get set up with a clinic to get checked.
Wow, you're right. They should have helped.
Yeah. With summer school, they're busy,
Oh,
my
well,
company's mildly crap.
damn.
It's a mildly crap company, but yeah, well, they gave me a nice bonus last time. I guess they won't give me a nice bonus next time though, because I'm skipping most of summer school. That's the part where I will eat a little bit. I think my bonus is gonna suck a little bit because I wasn't there for summer school, which shouldn't be a factor in this case, but they might be.
No, because if it's like Julie, she only gets paid for the times that she works in the summer. So
We get twice a year bonuses, so that's
okay.
technically kind of based on performance or whatever. So like I said, the one I got in June was like way more than I expected, which was kind of groovy. So, but next time I don't know. but then I'm supposed to start the new school that's like close to me. So if that's successful, then they have to give me a decent one again. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna say new school. Fuck, what happened in the other one?
Unless it flops. Hopefully it won't. I don't think it would. We have enough students around here. But yeah, what have I been watching a ton of Voyager. Ever watch much of Voyager?
I've seen at least, yeah, I've at least seen 4 or 5 Voyager.
4 or 5 episodes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I've seen far more than
Shit,
that.
I'm thinking of Discovery. No, I didn't see that many Voyager.
Yeah, that was a late 90s one, right?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have. No.
Okay.
No.
No, I got the set about a year and a half ago, and I, just off and on, but I've been hardcoring them a little more. I had some other sets I guess I could look at. I could start watching the Fast and Furious movies.
You know, The only one I've seen is the John Singleton one, and I think it's John Singleton's worst movie.
That
Actually,
is
no. Abducted is his worst movie, but that's the second.
because
That one.
he did the one right before they became like a massive franchise, right? Before they started throwing all the money into the movies.
He did, I think, the second one.
Did he? I can look at the set. I only got the set because it was like it was. I guess it was right when the ninth one was coming out.
Yeah.
They were selling the 8 film collection, without the ninth one on
No,
Blu-ray for
I'm
like
interested in seeing
$12. So I was like,
some of
ooh,
those later ones where they just became super ridiculous.
that's what. Yeah, I just don't know where to start. Should I go straight to those or?
I just didn't.
Anyway, for $12, I was like, at some point, I did like Hobbs and Shaw, as you probably heard from the website or the podcast.
Yeah, I did too.
So yeah, I'll get to him at some point, but I
yeah,
don't. I'm trying to. Oh, Fast Five. I always thought that sounded kind of dirty. You want a Fast Five, buddy?
it's like kind of a hand job.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Too Fast, Too Furious is John Singleton.
Singleton, yeah, okay.
Justin.
That was
Justin.
that was that and Abducted were the only movies of his that I hadn't seen when he passed away, and so I watched those, and I'm like, what a rotten way to, memorialize this great director. Watch his two worst movies.
Who else does these? E. Gary Gray. Wait,
F. Gary Gray.
F. Gary Gray. Sorry, I look like an E because I'm looking at it.
Yeah, he F. Gary Gray.
He did, what he did? What
Well, he did Friday.
Friday, yeah, okay.
But he's done a ton of really good action movies too.
Okay, James Wan.
I believe he did Straight Outta Compton also.
Most of them are Justin Lin.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Okay. I don't know who did the ninth because that's not in here. Hobbs and Shaw isn't in here either. But again, it was like $12, so whatever.
No, it's a good deal. Anytime you can get upwards around 5 to 6 movies for, $14 or less is a great deal. I got all the Resident Evil movies kind of that way.
I got the David Tennant set of Doctor Who for like $20 on Blu-ray.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. What else? Looking at my shelf, if I had picked up, I got all its anthologies, but I think I paid normal person money for those. I mean, not expensive, but Oh yeah, the Batman sets were relatively cheap.
Yeah, my Bikini Kill concert money that was refunded after 2 years because they couldn't play because of COVID, and then when they were touring they couldn't play because they got COVID. So they finally just refunded it, and I used it to buy part of it to buy this like volume 2 of what I assume is going to be 3 of these Doris Wishman film collections, all like transferred from the original.
Yeah, I had to get that earlier this year.
Oh yeah.
And then
is that Kino?
I think it's Shout Factory.
Okay.
Oh no, it's actually straight up Warner Brothers.
Oh, is it? Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess they wouldn't let. And then the animated one, which is, it's weird that the other one's more cartoony, right?
Oh well, Batman the Animated Series. This
one's much less. Yeah, and the thing that really got me to buy this one is it also includes the 2 movies. So.
Yeah, those are great.
That was.
I remember I even liked those. They came out when I was working at Blockbuster. And I remember putting them on the kids' TV a lot, going, maybe not quite for kids.
No, I think my favorite filmed Batman in general is still that animated Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. I mean, that one's excellent.
I mean, that's fucking RoboCop as Batman. How can you top that?
No, it was.
And I like what's his name? The guy that did the Joker's voice for that. He's Ben from Lost. I just can't remember the actor's name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I don't.
Anyway, I thought he was a very good Joker. So.
Yeah, I mean the Mark Hamill Joker is like, I mean he's, I think everybody's favorite at this point, but
it's kind of like you gotta do it differently if you're gonna hit it again, right? So
no, I'm with you. I think that is
also he's supposed to be like the chilled, at least appear to be the chilled out Joker in that version. I mean, inside he's still completely evil, which is the point, but he's supposed to be, I'm not hysterical anymore, right?
Yeah, but you do the hysterical thing and you keep it at that pitch, and it just loses, I think, its power. I
Younger,
like the
crazier Joker. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I guess I'll wrap it up for now. You know what? Maybe if you want to go same time next week, we'll hit something up too, because I don't actually go back to work till next Wednesday.
Okay. I have no clue what my schedule's gonna be yet for next week, but
Yeah.
I'll just send me do it. The best way thing to do is send me a message like you
Okay.
did, and because I tend to this time of night I tend to use for production meetings for movies and stuff. That's what I did last night.
Okay.
So I don't appear on anyone else's podcast anymore except for yours.
Okay. Groovy. Anyway, I will send you the nude witchcraft soundtrack then, because
That would be great
should.
because I didn't even think of that. But we're gonna need the music.
And hell, you need just if you already have an event, you can finesse a little bit, right? So
I was gonna say, yeah, that'll give me an idea of runtime actually. That way we don't have to come up with incidental stuff.
right. Oh, here, just while you're still on, I will even tell you the runtime, but I need two hands to do that.
Okay. Right now,
Almost 24 minutes of music.
that's great because this current script is about a solid 15, which that just goes by the amount of pages. But when you write in action and stuff like that, that whole thing gets padded out.
Right.
And I think 20, I think that'll nail it actually.
Okay. I'll go ahead and make a Google Drive for that now, and
Thanks.
I'll catch you later.